welcome to Shonky Lab. Yes, we're back. This week, I am Elton McManus. I am joined by Melissa. Hello, Melissa.
Hello, Elton.
Also, Andy.
Good evening, folks.
And Mr. Greg.
Hello.
Oh, it's working.
Yay! Yay! Science! Yay!
Well done, Greg.
I'll say goodbye now because it will probably fail soon.
No, just honestly, mate, just don't move.
I'm
Honestly.
not touching anything.
No, don't touch a thing.
I just have visions of you holding some really awkward pose with like an aerial in one hand sort of thing and a potted plant in the other one on one leg, just trying to get just the right bit of signal.
You're
Like
not far off. You're not far off the
hat.
truth. You're not far off the truth.
Anyway, let's move on before he does disappear into the ether. This week, we are here to talk about photography. Now, this was mentioned by Andy. I haven't been as active on here as I'd like to be as the last couple of weeks. You know, many different reasons for that, so I won't go into that. That's quite boring. But today, photography. We've also got Do You Tip? And pencil cases. It's a photography and pencil case special.
Woo!
Never heard that sentence said in your life before until now. Now, the reason for this, right, do you guys tip?
Well, as I said earlier, you know, we don't get many cows in London, so I don't really have the opportunity. But, you know, I'm not opposed to giving it a go. I suppose if I was in Devon or something, I'd certainly try tipping a cow.
You like to sneak up on a cow?
Yes.
And I am highly opposed to the practice of cow tipping.
I wasn't
Very
too
highly
sure whether it was a myth or not, but it is apparently a true thing.
See, I don't think you could actually do it. Cows are very, very heavy. Like, I just can't imagine getting enough force.
It's got to be leverage, though, isn't it? You know, I mean, you know, there's a lot of mass high up.
Yeah, they're top heavy.
I suppose.
High center of gravity. Mm. And if you do it,
Give me a lever long enough, and I will turn the cow over. That's how it goes, isn't it?
It is something like that, yes.
Yeah.
I believe I've heard that phrase somewhere before, yes.
Yes.
Well,
If you get a running start down a hill, that helps. Because then you can just shoulder barge them, and down they go.
hang
Well,
on.
if you could get the cow a running start down a hill, then he would tip himself.
Well, that would be hilarious. But then there's no fun.
But if the cows are standing on a hill, have they got two legs shorter than the other?
Yes, and they are called Eileen.
Wow.
And the ones with the legs the same length are called Noeline.
Jesus Christ. It's at this point that I wish your internet would fail.
Yes, I'm thinking the same thing.
Or if they've got no legs, they're ground beef.
Anyway.
Oh, Jesus.
Anyway, the reason why I asked, do we all tip? Not cows. Actual going to the restaurants and tipping. Because I've been on holiday recently, camping. And it was my daughter's birthday. We couldn't get into the restaurant that we wanted to get into. And so we went to a pub restaurant. It was a beautiful place with a river running by right next door to it. And the pub was empty, but it was huge. And it was obviously set out as a restaurant pub. And we phoned ahead. We said, you know, we got 12 people turning up. We need 12 seats. Can you sort us out? And they went, yes, come along. Be brilliant. And we had a brilliant time. The food was really, really good. And it came to the end of the night. We all settled up. And I didn't have any cash on me. Well, I'd already gone to the bar. I'd paid for it. And I didn't have any cash on me to tip. And I'm of the thought that, yes, you should tip for some reason or another. How much depends on how much you actually paid for. I normally go for, about 10%. I know that other people require more, though, don't they? And with me not having any cash, no one else had any cash on them. So I went up to the bar, and I pretty much waited there for 15 15 minutes while everyone else was piling into the car to go. 15 minutes goes, there's no one around, no bar staff, no one, absolutely no one to, take my card and pay a tip by card or something. I wanted to do something. And so we were just standing around, waiting, and then all of a sudden, the kids want to go to bed, so I thought, okay, if you're not here to take the money, then we're off. And we left. And then for the next 2 or 3 days, I was sat there going, I should go back. Maybe I should go back. But it's, a 3-odd-hour drive to go back. So, am I wrong in leaving without a tip? Even though they sorted us out because, it was a birthday and stuff like that, and it was all very late notice. Next time we go down there, I will be, double tipping. But they don't know that. And they don't know me. So, is it wrong? Is it right? I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I would say, here in America, it's completely different. Like, from what I gather in England and the rest of Europe, tipping is kind of an optional thing. Here in the States, tipping is kind of mandatory. But in your situation, I don't think that it's necessarily wrong that you didn't tip. I definitely understand why you felt bad that you didn't. And I can understand why you thought about going back to tip because, it was last minute and there were a lot of people and that sort of thing. But if there was nobody there to take your money, what are you supposed to do? Just wait around, all night until somebody happens to come by so you can say, hey, can I give you some extra money? So I understand why you feel bad about it, but I don't think it's wrong that you didn't tip.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, if you're not there, you can't be held responsible for them not taking your money.
Exactly. You can't blame yourself.
Just to get horribly socialist for a second now, I absolutely hate and no offense, Melissa, I know this isn't you, but it's the whole US system of tipping being mandatory, and then the excuse being the whole sort of, the waiting staff can't afford to get by without it. So it's like, if you paid them enough in the first place, it wouldn't be an issue. It's like, I think tipping should be for, going above and beyond. If someone does something exceptionally good for you, like you said, Elton, they sorted you out, and if you had the money, that'd be a great one. But I don't get paid extra just because I've done my job, If I've done my job really well, then maybe someone wants to give me a bonus or something like that. That's cool. But, you're paid to do a job. You do your job. If you do your job well, then someone gives you a bonus or a thank you or a tip, whatever. And that's kind of how the way it is. Look at it this way. It's like with, sports and stuff like that. Football players, I think they should only be paid when they score goals or the team wins. You don't get your multi-million-pound contracts just for showing up. Right. You got to win,
I'm of the same opinion with that. With the tipping, if the restaurants paid the people more, then they wouldn't need the tips, and I wouldn't mind paying a little bit more for the food overall. So the more I eat, the more I pay, and then the more they get paid. Well, no, they wouldn't get more though, would they? They would just get their hourly salary would be raised across the board. And that would be a much better way. So instead of sticking them on minimum or just barely minimum, bump it up a little bit. If you had a restaurant which was paying top notch for their waiters and staff, then surely you'd have a lot more staff wanting to work there because they want the more money, and also they would be enjoying it a lot more. Maybe not enjoying it a lot more, but you know what I mean. You get my drift on that.
Yeah. Well, in the U.S., wait staff don't even make a minimum wage. They are paid not even half of minimum wage most of the time because they, basically they live on tips. Like when wait staff say they live on tips, they really do live on tips. So they might only be making $2 or $3 an hour. And so that's why everyone feels compelled to tip over here. you have to tip, and there's all these rules about, well, how much should you tip? And it used to be the minimum, if somebody just does their job, was 10%, and now it's something like 18%. And if they do a really great job, you can do 20% or something like that. And it's way too complicated, and it's way too subjective. And I don't understand why we're paying people less than a minimum wage. Just pay people at least minimum wage and get rid of the whole mandatory tipping system. If people want to tip, bartenders and wait staff and delivery people and that kind of thing, awesome. If not, they shouldn't have to worry about it. My tip should not make or break somebody's paycheck.
No, that's right. And you shouldn't have the guilt of, if when I go out, I'm a family of 4. Mm-hmm. And so I could have the thought in my head that, well, hang on, I've got 2 kids. I'm just bringing them out for a nice dinner. You shouldn't really expect me as a family man of 4, possibly struggling, possibly not. It's not up to them to decide whether I should tip or not. Mm-hmm. And so I find it very, it should just be included in their wages.
Right.
The downside to that is you could possibly have bastard people. And they're like, well, I'm only getting paid this, so why should I go over the top and, present myself well? Well, you should.
Well, you still get that anyway. That's the thing, though. I mean, if for tipping, you're getting tipped regardless. You're getting, I don't know what you said, was it 10 or 18 or whatever it is, just for showing up and doing your thing. And I've heard stories that, if you don't tip, they chase you out of a restaurant. It is a massive social faux pas in the US not to tip.
Oh, yeah.
So it's one of those ones, you're still going to get people that are going to be completely shit at their job and arseholes because they don't care, but, they got the job and whatever. Plus, the other thing, with the tipping, it generally it's the front of house staff that are going to get it. So it's your waiters, your waitresses and all this. It's not going to be the chef out the back. It's not going to be the people, preparing the food and cooking and all this. And then when you have a situation where they're pooling the tips because the management's going to share them out amongst yourselves, it's like, if I don't trust you to pay them a decent wage in the first place, like, fuck, I'm going to trust you to share the tips equally amongst them. That's just not happening.
Yeah. Well, in Japan, they don't like tips at all.
It's illegal in New Zealand to tip in certain places.
Is it?
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah, I think in Japan they get highly offended if you try to tip them. No.
Yeah, because it's you're saying that they need help or something like that. I've heard that.
You're kind of offending their honor or something.
Basically, yeah.
Wow.
Going back to what you were saying, Andy, about about the management sharing it between the chefs and the back of house staff. There's been something in the news recently that Las Iguanas restaurants in the UK, I don't know if you've heard of them.
Yeah, I heard about the controversy.
Yeah, they've been taking 5% of any tips off their staff to share amongst the other staff. And the report in the Observer says that over 1 week, the chain of restaurants took £34,000 from its sales staff.
Well, it was also where even if you had to pay a certain amount, regardless of what you owed. So, in a couple of occasions, this waitress ended up paying to turn up to work.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus!
Oh my God!
Yeah. And the excuse that management said was like, "Oh, but we use it to pay for staff parties and training and all this other stuff." And it's like, no. That's duty of care. That's your job anyway. You pay for that shit anyway.
If that 34 grand was a typical week over the year, that comes to just under £2 million.
Whoa!
And the chain said it could not comment on these figures.
Oh my God!
Bastards!
If they don't, it also says if they didn't cover the 3% payment or the 5% payment, if in London, staff were required to make up the benefit of any shortfall on their next subsequent shift, or in the event of leaving the company, by deduction from their wages.
Is this an alleged thing?
No,
this is confirmed.
This has
How
come
is that
from
even legal?
Staff on the job.
yay for small print or something like that. It's
Oh God.
It's
It would have
just-
been in the terms and condition of their minimum hours, their 0 hours contract.
yeah. Something else which is pretty damn fucked up, but hell, that's for another.
So I mean, I will tip based on the service, but as long as I know it's going directly to the wait staff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't say that the chef may or may not have done a great job because I haven't seen it. I can only base my tipping on the person that's brought the stuff to me. But I generally tip in the UK, but around 10%. In the States, maybe a bit more. I think the staff tend to try harder in the States because they need to earn the tips.
Yeah.
And I've generally always got better service in the States, regardless of where it might be or what kind of mood they might be in. They always seem to try that a little bit harder.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's just because we, over here, like you said, we need the money. People not we, because I don't work for tips, but people who work for tips, they need the tips, so they have to try harder.
So I get tipped at Christmas, but that feels more like it's just a thank you for doing your job for the year. It's not like I can do it or I can not do it. There's no sort of middle ground. I can't do it particularly badly or particularly well. It's either done or it's not.
Well, your job's really easy, isn't it?
Well, yeah, almost as easy as your job, Elton.
For those of us who weren't paying attention earlier, so what are... I know Elton is, by day he fixes elevators and by night he makes awesome props. But what do you do, Greg?
I'm a postman.
Ah, there we go then. That's a hard job, man. Respect.
It is a hard job. As Elton put it once, he said, if you've got nothing more to contribute to society than putting paper through holes in doors, then I don't like the cut of your jib. But
it always reminds me of was it
the man
MASH,
walks 7
where
miles in
Radar
my
was
shoes.
posting a Jeep home.
Yes.
Every week he's sending a couple more parts of a Jeep home, and
I'll post Elton something.
I don't remember saying that at all.
Oh, you did.
No.
No, you did. I think I may have said something derogatory about lift engineers in the first place, so it's probably well deserved.
It doesn't sound like something I would say, honestly. Yeah.
I'll have to trawl back through Facebook and find it.
Oh shit! Yeah, that's right. Facebook keeps records of all this stuff, doesn't it? Bugger
Yes,
it.
it does.
Yes, it does, because 3 years ago I asked whether an egg comes out of a chicken pointy end out or round end out first.
You did, I remember that.
And it came up on one of them review things of, oh yeah, share this with your friends. Do you know what? I might not share that one.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of those things lately, and I'm like, what the hell was I thinking when I posted this? I'm not sharing any of these.
But anyway, being a postman, it is just putting paper through a hole.
Yeah, anyway, weren't we talking about tipping?
Anyway, let's move on to slightly lighter matters. Does anyone have a pencil case?
No.
I do.
You know what? I
Jealousy.
still have somewhere. I don't use it. I just know it still exists. I still have somewhere the pencil case I had from high school.
Yeah, so do I. I've got it in front of me as well.
Awesome.
I have one by proxy, because the children have one each, but it's not really mine, so I feel a little bit, left out.
No. You got to have your own pen. This is what I was thinking. I'm 37 years old and I still have a pencil case. But that's because I tend to draw every now and again. I get a wind of, I fancy drawing, and so I will. And I just wanted to share the contents of my pencil case with you guys.
Go for it.
Hang on. Right.
Firstly, describe the pencil case. I mean, is it clear plastic? Is it metal tin? I mean, have you got some theme going on there?
Okay, I shit you not.
Has it got pictures of lifts on it?
I'm going to cut you off in a minute.
Don't worry, he'll drop out at some point anyway.
Be a mind trick. No, the actual pencil case I bought from Alton Towers, believe it or not, on that one time that I went there. It has got the little Alton Towers logo. It's got like two zips on it, two-sided thing, so it folds up, opens like a book. Opens like a book.
Oh, I never saw it. Yeah, nice. Yeah. Do you remember those Oxford ones you used to get, the metal tins?
Yes.
Ah, they were awesome. You had like protractors in there and like compasses. It was all so neat for like that first week of school, and then it just went to shit. But there was a week where it was like it's this thing of pristine beauty.
Yes. Yeah. Oh no. Well, this one I have the obligatory big soap-sized rubber, which everyone had at school. It's got holes punched in it for some reason. I don't know why. I've also got one of these Helix rulers. You know, the non-shatter ones?
Yes. Clear plastic.
Clear plastic, but this is the one that folds.
Ah. Controversial, but understandable to make it fit.
It is a thing of beauty. And
I'm posting in the Mixlr the picture of the Oxford pencil case, because, yeah.
Because why not?
Because why not?
Thank you, because I have no idea what they look like.
Oh, well, now you do.
I have a selection of pencils and also mechanical pencils. Because I do like a mechanical pencil.
Our mechanical pencils are pretty awesome. Do you eject as much lead as you can and then like try and force it back? That sounds awfully dirty, doesn't it? And yet, that's what we do with mechanical pencils.
Yes, I have been known to do that, yes. And then sometimes you get that where you're just pushing it through and then it snaps at the end. You're like, oh, bollocks. You've got to take the rubber off at the end and then slide it back in with its friends.
Euphemism!
Yes, so behold the beauty of my pencil case.
Nice.
I shall be putting it up in the Facebook group at some point later on.
So again, like I said, my pencil case, it exists within the confines of my house. It's one of those things that kind of like randomly appears at points of time, under be determined. But it still has the contents of that pencil case from when I left high school, which was a while ago. But I always remember when I open it up, sort of thing, it's the smell of, when you sharpen your pencil, sort of thing, the wood shavings. And when you're at school, there's no bins or anything there. It inevitably gets emptied into the pencil case. And it's just that smell of lead and wood. Very nostalgic smell.
Definitely.
Yes. Reminds me of learning.
Oh, give over. Oh, what about you, Greg?
I wish I still had it. I don't anymore, but I had the Helix giant calculator pencil case box.
Oh, the thing that flips open.
Do you remember that? Yeah. It's like a huge plastic calculator with a pencil sharpener in the top and a space for your name and your class and your school on the fake screen, and then a secret compartment inside.
Now, can I ask a question?
Go for it.
Did anyone, I'm whispering now, did anyone put cheat sheets in their pencil case?
That would be telling. No.
I never had a pencil case when I was at school. I didn't get one until like a couple years ago.
Given that I'm a postman, does it seem like I cheated on any exams?
When we did exams, if you weren't allowed to take your pencil case into the exam unless it was
one
clear plastic.
One pencil and one pen, yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, one pencil and one pen. That was it. And if you dropped it, you had to put your hand up, and they would bring you another one. You weren't allowed to bend down and get it.
Oh, jeez.
Wow. How was it living in Nazi Germany? Bloody hell.
There's only 4 years between us, and our schooling was obviously a lot different.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
I'm having an acid flashback, Elton. I remember I had a Formula 1 pencil case at one point.
Really?
It was awesome. It was...
Elton suddenly jealous.
It was this... It had... I remember it had like a 1980s Ferrari on the front and a McLaren on the back. And there was buttons on it, and you pushed a button and a sharpener would pop out. And it was like a hidden compartment, and it was like the most high-tech pencil case ever. I'd try and find a picture, but I have no idea where I would even begin to look. But it was like this awesome, high-tech Formula 1 pencil case. I think I had that from junior school. Wow. That was a while ago.
See, there was always that day. Obviously, Melissa has just gone through this of oh, I need a pencil case. And so you go to the shops, and it is the journey to get the pencil case. And then do you get a pencil case that is full of pencils? Or do you select your own equipment to go inside it?
Well, I selected my own equipment to go inside my pencil case, and mine is very boring. It's not specifically a pencil case. It was basically just like an art, container. So it has like a handle on it, and it's clear plastic. It's really, really boring, but it's functional. And it's got a lot of stuff in it. But I wish, like, you guys are talking about these really cool pencil cases, and it's like, I wish I had something fun and exciting. Maybe I should draw all over it with markers or something. But
I just found a Formula One pencil case. I don't know if it's the one you had, Andy.
I have just found a video of the same make of pencil case. It doesn't have the Formula One logo on it. I'm gonna pop this in the Mixlr thing. There you go. But that was the kind of pencil case I used to have. It had buttons and shit and everything. I mean, I tell you, this is probably why my education went to shit. I spent all this time playing with my pencil case and not paying attention.
Euphemism.
I'll post this one I found in the Shonky Lab page. But it's got the Brazilian Grand Prix and a picture of a Marlboro Formula One car on the front. It's got buttons. It's got buttons on a
It might be
sharpener.
it. Yeah. Oh, post that picture, motherfucker. Let's see if that's the one.
So I'm just trying to skip oh my god! Yes, the flip up. Yep, and it's got the magnetic clasp.
Yes,
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, that's the discerning gentleman's pencil case right there. That's what pencil cases of the future were going to be like in the 80s. Oh, I forgot it had the thermometer on the thing. What use is a thermometer in school? And yet, they had one.
No, thermometer, because if the temperature went below 16 degrees, everyone in the class would shout that they can go home. Because that was the rule. I think it was anything below 16 degrees, you was allowed to ask to go home or to be moved to a different room. And we would... Yeah, and there was thermometers in our chemistry classes, obviously. And other rooms as well had thermometers. And they were normally on the blackboards, hung on the wooden slats on the blackboards.
Yeah,
and
we had the thermometers too.
Yeah, and we would keep an eye on that bastard, and we would just.
See, they never told us that shit. We weren't told if it got below 16, you could go home.
No, it was the law. It was definitely the law, and
not in Swindon, it wasn't.
It didn't work for us because I think the heat of everyone's vision on that thermometer, I swear, it stopped it from going below 16 degrees. There were a couple of times when it did go below, and the whole class erupted saying, "It's below 16 degrees!" And we would just barrage the teacher with, "No, you got to move us or we can go home." And this teacher's there going, "Look, don't be a dick. It's not going to happen. Really not going to happen." But, oh man, if I was in class now, I would have a thermometer. Definitely. That's why you need it in your pencil case.
Oh, well, there you go. Although you'd have to say it's susceptible to kind of like, you put a block of ice underneath it and then, oh, sorry, miss, got to go home. The temperature's dropped. The picture you posted, Greg, very similar, but not quite. Yeah. But, that is pretty much the same model of pencil case. But, yeah.
I want one of those. That's terribly exciting.
See, come over to England. You get all this goodness.
I know. I'm trying. There are so many reasons I want to move to England, and now pencil cases are another one. You can't find that shit here.
Yeah, it's kind of a staple of. Right. Okay. One. That's saying, is it stable or staple of the diet?
Staple.
Is it staple?
Staple.
Okay. Well,
yes.
Yeah, it's part of it's part of our diet as a child to go and get the pencil case. And my daughter has 4 or 5 upstairs, and they are crammed full. But we also have a tin in our front room just full of pencils because Amanda's a childminder, and so the kids have their own pencils, and then there's a big box of pencils which any kids can just destroy. And the smell of that tin is gorgeous.
I love the smell of pencils, like freshly sharpened pencils. It's amazing.
Definitely. Right, I think we've beaten that horse. We are really here to talk about photography. You three are photographers. Would you all label yourselves as photographers or amateur photographers, or how would you label yourselves?
We all take pictures. That's about as far as I'm willing to go.
I'm a student photographer. That's what I'll say. I'm studying to become a photographer.
I own a camera. That's as far as I'm willing to commit.
So you're just as much as a photographer as I am?
About as much as you are a postman.
I could do that tomorrow.
You could not.
This sounds like a challenge that has to happen. I want to forget the skydiving, Elton. Charity postman. There you go, mate.
That's awesome.
I wouldn't trust him on my delivery as far as I could throw him.
Well, I never said to be your delivery.
Oh, that's all right. And he can fuck up someone else's.
Elton should come deliver mail in my neighborhood because nobody could screw it up as bad as the people who currently do the job.
There we go.
That sounds like a challenge.
Greg, do you have the little trolley that you push in front of you, or is it on a bag?
No, I deliver with a van.
Oh, wow.
I'm that lazy.
Oh, fancy.
Do you wear shorts all day?
I do, yeah. No, my delivery is 38 miles long, so I use a van. I think I'd be kind of fucked if I was walking that far every day.
Yeah.
That, and I would just go, no, I'm not doing it.
Tell me it's a black and white cat in this equation somewhere.
There is no black and white cat.
Damn it.
It's been the occasional pigeon pasted to the front radiator grill, but other than that.
Oh!
Well, if they're not going to move.
Oh, no!
If they're not going to move, they get squished.
Oh, here's a question for, since you deliver mail. In the U.S., we drive on the right-hand side of the road, and the steering wheel is on the left-hand side of the car.
Yeah.
But postal vans have the steering wheel on the right-hand side of the car.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, they do in the States. Because of where the boxes are.
So, do UK postal vans have the steering wheel on the left-hand side of the car?
No, it's on the right.
Oh, okay.
But I don't stop and put it in a little box outside. I have to actually get out and walk, unlike your lazy-ass postman.
Okay, that explains it.
I feel smackdown between United States postmen and English Royal Mail.
Do you know what it says?
Royal Mail would win.
That's the thing, though. You see, the US one won't actually be able to land a punch on Greg because he's stopped just outside the ring, whereas Greg would walk right up to him and smack him in the mouth.
It says on an official US mail service post box that you buy from US mail service, it says that it must be placed in a position where the delivery person can reach it without having to leave their van.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a federal mandate or some bullshit like that.
Hang on, when they're
if
doing
mine were all
what?
like that, I could get round in half an hour.
Not every mailbox.
Not every house has
on the street out,
a box on the street.
Yeah, our mailbox is actually embedded in the front of our building. So in our neighborhood, because we're more in an urban area, our mail carrier actually walks around. So, but they still screw it up because they suck.
So they don't want to leave their van, and okay, right. I'm picturing the what would you call it? The half circle letterbox with the little flag that you stick up.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay, number one, did they actually exist?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're for real.
Flipping hell, that's amazing.
I've got some of my customers have those.
You didn't think that the mailboxes existed?
No,
You just thought they made them up for the film.
I thought it was just a film thing. I wasn't too sure.
Oh no, I grew up with those mailboxes outside my house.
Oh man,
little.
I kind of want one now.
You know they won't use this over here. You can stick it out by your letterbox, but the postman's still gonna have to walk all the way to your door anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well,
Because you
over
guys
here,
get mail delivered through the slot, right?
Pardon?
Do you,
Euphemism.
Yes, the man
I try
dressed
and deliver
in red,
to the back door if possible.
Easy Tiger.
Oh, behave.
I get the feeling
no
that
idea
if
what
I
I'm
had
saying.
one of them American-style letterboxes, then if I stuck it out there one day, if I built it and then put it out there Sunday night, Monday morning, it's gone. Guaranteed.
What? You give it that long? Yeah. Turn you back for 5 minutes. By the time you've walked back to your house, it's gone.
Yes. Next time I leave my house and notice where my letterbox was, then yeah, it's gone. Definitely.
In very rural areas in the U.S., sometimes people just go out driving and hang out. You know, they'll have a passenger hanging out the side with a baseball bat, and they just like take down people's mailboxes with baseball bats.
Baseball.
Great segue to an awesome story I heard about a guy who was sick of his mailbox getting knocked down by kids. So he basically got some concrete, a metal pole, and replaced his wooden mailbox with his metal pole. So the guy's going down with a baseball bat, smacking, smack, smack, smack. Gets to that one, nearly took the guy out of the car. It was awesome.
Oh, brilliant.
Passive-aggressive revenge. I love that kind of stuff.
You have to build like a electronic one that disappears into the floor and then pops up. Just disappears, or as he goes to swing for it, it just drops 4 inches. It totally misses it, and you're sat in your front room with a remote control, just zip, 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 zip.
That would be good.
That's me dreaming anyway.
Good.
Anyway, has anyone taken a photo of said letterboxes?
But there's quite a
no.
on the internet, I think. If you
I haven't. I could do.
Oh,
There's a
had
couple on my
we?
delivery.
Had we done it?
I'm trying to segue into photography from letterboxes.
I don't think I have, but I could do.
I've taken photos through people's letterboxes. Does that count?
No,
but that might be a crime.
my boss isn't listening to this. It's all fine.
Oh.
That's an entirely different type of photography.
It begs the question, Greg. What have you seen through letterboxes?
Nothing through letterboxes is what I've seen through windows that would bother people.
It also begs the question, Greg. What have you seen through windows?
You don't want to know.
This is a whole new topic. What have you seen through a window? That's brilliant.
Well, I'll
Does
tell you
the
what, I'll help you
postman
segue here, Elton. What is the most interesting you've taken a picture of, Greg? See, segue. See how that was? See?
Ooh.
Connecting the dots.
Nice one.
It's all
High
connected.
five.
Shit magic. Sorry, Darren.
The most interesting thing I've taken a picture of, possibly Elton's head this weekend.
You got a picture of my head?
Because everyone was trying to touch it. I thought, well, I need a photo of this.
That was a good picture.
Is that the one from the room from upstairs?
No, because I
was
on the outskirts of the circle. I couldn't quite reach, so I had to make do with a photograph.
Oh, you were trying to touch.
Yes, I was trying. I couldn't reach down.
Oh,
I was
okay.
too far away from the head.
Well, you see, you're going to have 6 more months of winter, I'm afraid, Greg.
Damn that!
M's the rules.
I did go out with the camera on the Sunday morning after the shindig and take a number of photos in and around London before
And I
heading
was
home.
insanely jealous of those photos as well. You know, I live in this fucking city and I don't take pictures that good.
Yeah, I was
I think
telling him before you came on that, you know, they're really great photos, and Greg's like, yeah, they're okay.
I think that you
Shut
see it
up.
every day, though. It's because I don't see it that often. I maybe see it with a different eye and think, you know, that's gonna.
Well, tell me if
I
you
don't
guys. So generally speaking, when I see the pictures that you've posted, you know, especially on the Canon site, you know, I'm in awe of these. I'm like, bastard, taking awesome pictures and all this. And you know, some of the ones Melissa took as well were really good. There's one you took
Thank you.
of Brooklyn Bridge.
Yeah.
Send it over to me. You know the one I mean, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So do you guys find when you're looking at other people's work, you're like, wow, that's amazing, and I am just such a fucking fraud, and I have no idea what I'm doing? Because that's pretty
I
much
feel
how
like
I
that
go
all
through
the
my
time.
entire time.
Any time I look at either the the Canon groups on Flickr or the black and white groups on Flickr or Facebook. And I think I shared this with Melissa and I think yourself, Andy, a little while ago. There was a link that Scott Kelby put up from a tour he did around some theatres and opera houses in France. And I just looked at them and nearly threw the camera in the bin. I thought, I can't even compete. They were absolutely mind-blowing.
Scott Kelby's work just makes me want to cry.
Yeah.
He's just so good.
Yeah, you see these things people do, and it's just like, I know technically how to do all of this, and I can access this place. There's nothing there that I cannot do, and yet I do not do it. What's wrong with me? And then at the same time, occasionally you get a picture, and it's just so you take one, and you think, yes, this would be worthy. This would be worthy, and then you see something else done. It's like, no, it's not. I'm going to go away.
Yeah, like that's how I felt last semester. For the class I took last semester, we had to do this series of 8 photos, and we had to, put together like a whole artistic theme and all this kind of stuff. So I took this series of 8, and I called it Eternal Ephemeral. And it's basically like long exposures at night of, landmarks in the city and, just all the lens flares.
I've seen those. They were awesome.
I thank you. That's a series that I want to keep working on because I flippin' love doing that. And Greg, I actually have to thank you for kind of getting me started with that because that was all like a takeoff of Ripley's Luxembourg.
Yeah, because I studied her at college.
Yeah. You got me started on her, and she's like my inspiration now.
Yeah.
But one of the shots,
her work is incredible.
Oh, isn't it though? It's just
night. Just the vibrancy of her nighttime photography is just it's like nobody else's, and it just blew me away.
Yeah, it's like she'll photograph a scene that you might have seen before in the daytime or even at night, but it looks like a completely different landscape, and it's just she's mind-blowing. Her work is phenomenal. But I did this one shot during that series, and it was of the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and that's probably the photo that in like the last year or two that I've taken that I'm the most proud of. And I look at that and I'm like, that right there, okay, I'm a photographer now. Yes, this is it. And then I go out and I shoot other stuff and I'm like, I'm a fucking miserable failure. This sucks. What's wrong with me? And it's
I know exactly what you mean. It's,
yeah.
Scott Kelby does the program, The Grid, and every few months they'll do a blind critique on there. And they did one a little while ago, and I submitted 5 images to it, and they got picked to be critiqued.
Oh, wow.
And he basically tore me a new one.
Oh no!
And I just felt so heartbroken that I thought what I thought were good images, but when I looked at what he said and why he said it, and then sort of spent a bit of time thinking about it, he was actually right. Mm-hmm. And I went to a seminar of his in London a couple of months ago, and I spoke to him after the seminar, and I said that you really tore into some of my images. And he said, but did it make a difference? I said, well, yeah, definitely. He said, because now I'm doing this. And I showed him a few recent ones. And he was like, yeah, technically much better. So harsh words, but, it makes a difference.
That's always hard. I mean, I had it not so much with the photography, but certainly with film. And when I came out of university, having done film and stuff like that, I thought I was the shit. I was like, I'm awesome. I'm a great filmmaker. I went out with a cameraman for one afternoon. And like yourself, he just tore me absolutely to pieces, sort of thing. Now, he did have the good graces to build me back up again over a couple of months after that, but it was just like, I learned more in that one afternoon with him than I had in like 3 years of university prior to that. And it was just like, okay, I'm not going to focus on the wasted years there, and I'm just going to focus on how much better I am now.
Yeah. That's all you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like any hobby,
tough.
though, isn't it? Surely you think you're the shit at everything, and then there's always going to be a million people better than you.
Yeah.
In everything that you do. When I was teaching myself guitar, I thought, I was getting good at one point. I thought, I didn't think I was Jimmy Page, but I thought, do you know what? I'm all right. And then I'd go around my friend's house who was really good on guitar, and I'd just sit there going, "You bastard, you fucking bastard."
I don't have any delusions there. I know I can't play the drums for shit. Even though I've been having lessons for nearly 3 years now, I'm still useless.
Yeah, but okay. But
seriously, it's embarrassing.
Is it because taking a photo, everyone has access to that technology now? And so everyone will take a good photo. Not every single time, but they will take a good photo at some point. But
to be able to recreate it and keep it consistent is the thing, which, even the best professionals struggle with from time to time.
Yeah.
I'll go, a couple of thousand shots over the course of a month, and only 10 will be keepers. But then another time I'll do a shot of 20 photos, and they'll all be good, if not, definite keepers.
But isn't it easier to get into photography now? Because just for the fact just for the fact that you turned around just then and said, "I'll take a couple of thousand photos." 10 years ago, you couldn't do that.
Depends what you want to do with the photography. Yeah, it's so broad. It's like taking pictures of architectural photography is not like product photography, is not like wedding photography, is not like aviation photography. I mean, I can take a picture of a plane and do a reasonable job of it. You ask me to take a picture at a wedding, no hope. Not a chance, not a clue. It's no. I'm going to be more interested in a bloody plane flying into Heathrow than I am of whatever's going on up at this bloody front, It's just, it's different. Does basic rules, which, you want to make sure everything's nicely exposed and all that, but does, and Greg could probably talk more to this for me because he's done more wedding photography, but I suppose there's a certain rhythm to taking wedding photos.
Yeah.
You have to learn that.
It's certainly more pressurized as well because it is only a one-shot deal. You don't get that moment again, and if you miss it, it's gone.
I mean, the other thing I've noticed is a lot of times is people say, "Oh, that's easy." It doesn't like any effort at all, and they'll get an album of photos. Like, "Oh, we could do this. Why are we paying thousands of pounds for a wedding photographer?" And you're paying the thousands of pounds for the wedding photographer because he makes it look that easy, and he gives you the album of usable pictures. How many people have been to a wedding and you've got your friends and family taking the pictures and they're all shit, like not a single one worthwhile in the entire bunch?
I've only done a dozen weddings, but the amount of times that I've had people come up during the reception and go, "Look at this I took in the ceremony, what do you think of it?" And it's like a glimpse of the bride and groom through a load of out of focus heads, and it'll be underexposed or overexposed, or
they're chopped off at the ankles,
and you try and be magnanimous, but you just want to say, "Jesus, just get out of my way and let me do the job, please, because I know what I'm doing." And they'll crowd in when you're doing the formal shots. They'll crowd in around you and they'll shadow you and they'll lean over you, and it's just like, "Look, I'm being paid to do this. Let me do what I do, and then you can take yours."
Yeah.
But for the meantime, fuck off.
See, the last wedding I went to, it was one of our friends, and my son, one of his best mates was one of the best men. He was about 10 at the time. It was because it was like two families joining together. But my son, his mate, and a couple of their other mates grabbed a couple of these table cameras, the disposable ones, and disappeared for half hour with these cameras. And then, the bride and groom ended up with about 100 pictures of gurning children and bottoms. So, there is a danger that could happen every now and again. But, you see a kid running around with a disposable camera, and he's like, "I don't think you should have that." And they're like, "Yeah, it's all right. Jimmy won't do anything with it. He's just running around with it." And then all of a sudden, 30 shots are gone.
The old days of film. I don't miss it at all. Fuck films.
Back in the day, I used to work at Borders bookstore, and I remember I took my camera in one night. I think we were doing inventory or something, and I just happened to take my 35 millimeter camera in with me, and it disappeared for about 15 minutes and then reappeared, and I didn't really think anything of it. And when I got the film developed, there were pictures. Apparently, this one girl and guy that I worked with took my camera and snuck off to the bathroom and photographed the guy's ass. So I'm like, awesome! I just paid to have pictures of a guy's ass developed. That's awesome.
I've seen that at a wedding. I've seen it. I've sat at a table between meal courses.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
Yeah. I won't take pictures of people eating at the wedding. I don't do photos during the meal. But I've seen a guy between the meal courses. I was just sat chatting, and he picked up one of the disposables. Back in a minute, and he was gone. And then he came back. He said that'll be nice for them to find when they develop it.
Oh no!
Oh, no.
So I'm not going to ask what it is, but I'm guessing it's something they won't want to share. He went, yeah, they're not going to put it in the album for mum and dad. That's for sure.
Flipping hell.
Oh,
See,
that's
I have had my bottom taken a photo of. I was with my sister-in-law, and we found it was Amanda's dad's camera, and he just got this digital camera. It was when digital cameras were just coming out, from my point of view, about 97 or 98 or something like that, when it was the new thing to get. Mm-hmm. And the first thing that I noticed on these new digital cameras is when you have a photo and you got it on the actual camera, that's amazing because you can actually see the photo you've just taken. But then you can zoom in. And I remember looking at this picture of my bottom and my sister-in-law's bottom, and then zooming in and going, oh, I don't like that. Oh, I've got a freckle there. Oh. And, you know, it's familiar things from unfamiliar angles, which are really disturbing at times. But also, that is the wonderful leap of digital cameras where you can zoom into the motherfucker and then zoom out of it as well. It's brilliant.
But the other,
like you said, you go, Greg.
No, you go on. You carry on.
I was going to say, the great thing with digital cameras is, like you said, it's never been easy to take pictures. There's no cost associated with it, really, after you own the equipment. Before, with film, you had to buy the film, and then you had to go and get the film all developed, and then you could take a picture, and you wouldn't know if it was a good picture until, a day, a week, whatever later when you got the stuff developed, unless you were developing it yourself, in which case you're just a weirdo with a darkroom. But yeah, the great thing with it now is, you can just snap away. Sometimes when people come up and ask me, they ask for tips to be a good photographer and stuff like this, and I always tell them that the single best bit of advice I can give you to be a good photographer is just don't show people your shit photos. It's like, if you go out and you take it, yeah, you laugh, and it sounds obvious, but so many people do it. It's like, so again, I do a lot of aviation photography through work, and you get people who send me pictures from air shows, and it will be 27 pictures of a plane flying across a blue sky. And it's just a sequence, one after the other. And it's just like each photo is exactly the same as the last one. It's just, no, just pick one of those pictures as a really good one and post that. And it'll be like, oh, you got a really nice picture. But because you've got all that, you're just saying that, yeah, I just pointed the camera, click the shutter, and, there's no thought or there's no process going into what you're trying to say with the image. It's just like, I was here, I'm documenting it, and that is that.
Like stimulus response.
Yeah, exactly. It's why just don't show people the shit photos. If you've gone out and you've taken 3,000 pictures and only 4 of them are any good, only show the 4 good pictures, and people will say, wow, you took 4 amazing photos. And that's it. They don't need to know how many pictures you took beforehand
they don't need to
get to it. I mean, you posted those 3 really nice pictures around London, didn't you? The black and white one. Dare I ask, how many did you take that day? You say 3, I will stab you.
About 40. 35, 40, I think.
Yeah, so you got like a 1 in 10 return then.
Yeah.
And that's a really good return. I was reading a quote, I think it was from Ansel Adams, and he said, if in the course of a year you walk away with 12 good photos, that's been a good year.
Yeah, exactly.
So what is it about photography that got you into it? Andy?
I've never had any kind of formal training in photography. I mean, I didn't really have cameras growing up. We did have a camera in the house with, a 35mm one, but we never really used it. My background was in film, And around the time that DSLR started doing film, I picked those up for doing film. But because I had a stills camera, people assumed I could take pictures, and evidently I could. But for me, what it's about, it's storytelling and capturing a moment. It's trying to tell a story with a single image. So people look at the image and, there's a narrative there's a story, there's something going on in it. But it's also you're capturing a moment of, and this is going to sound philosophical and all that, and I don't mean it to come across how this does, but you're capturing just a moment of eternity. That moment's gone forever, but you've got an image of it. You've got this moment, and there's a really kind of shit moment in Into Darkness where they have this picture and, they can kind of look around this picture and see around the world as it was in that instant. And I kind of like that. I took a picture once of a street in London, and, it was... there was a bus going through it. There was some windows and reflections, but you can see other stuff across the road in this image and this reflection and all this. And it's just this little moment of time kind of captured there. And that kind of fascinates me. And I like going out and just capturing those little moments. That's what appeals to me. I mean, there's other aspects of photography I really, really want to get into, especially astral photography, taking pictures of the galaxy and the universe and all that. Because I see some of the pictures, Mark G, he's a famous New Zealand photographer, and it's just stunning. And again, that kind of connects to this whole capturing these little moments of eternity and just showing this sort of beauty there.
All the time lapse photos that they do, and don't they normally take 3 or 4 different photos and then layer them onto each other?
Oh, the big universe panoramas?
Yeah, like the Milky Way ones or the ones of Jupiter to get all the colours in there as well.
Oh, they're like dozens of pictures all kind of stitched together. I mean, that's the other thing. Mm-hmm. There's so much. It's not just taking a picture now. There's a lot of post-process which has got to go into it. And that's a completely separate art in of itself. You want to... It's almost like when you're out taking a picture, you're not just looking at what you're seeing through the camera, through the lens. You're also seeing what it's going to become once you finish messing around with it in your computer and cropping it and telling that story with this image and putting it out there. Because all that informs what the final image is going to be. There's a picture on my banner at the minute of a guy walking towards the Arc de Triomphe.
I love that shot.
I love that image.
It's probably that's the image I was saying earlier. Is the one like, yes, this is a worthy image. And I want to take pictures like that all the time. And taking that image I was on my way to a job in Paris, and I was just walking towards the what's it called? La Défense. It's the big modernist arch they've got there. And I just turned around and I just caught this one guy there, and I just took like a series of pictures. And that was it, because you can just see in that image there's the heads of people walking up there. After that, it was just gone. It was just this one moment of this perfect image. But I could see in my mind I was going to square it off to make this nice kind of square composition. I knew I wanted to draw the focus in there, so I was thinking about how I'm doing that. There's not a lot of posters gone into that image, but there was enough going through my mind. I was still working out what I wanted to take with the image while I was taking it. So yeah, that was...
I had a similar one recently, Andy, on the beach at Weston-super-Mare. A lot of people around, but I just managed... No, at the same day, but this was just of my daughter. Just managed to catch her on her own. And the tide was right out, so you could see, to the horizon. And she was just picked out so crisply in the middle, and it was like there was no one else around. It could have been empty for miles around. And looking through them, there was, sort of 5 or 6 either side that I'd rattled off. And they were like, yeah, there's a bird, there's another person in it. And it's this one in the middle. She was just completely isolated. And when it came up on the screen, I just stopped dead and looked at it, and it took me aback. Mm-hmm. Because it really conveyed a sense of, isolation that the others didn't. So it's like you said, it's catching that one little moment that's not going to happen again.
Mm-hmm. I had a moment like that a few months ago. My mom and I took a road trip to Virginia Beach to visit my stepbrother, and we were driving back up, and we stopped on the end of the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel. Not that you guys know what that is or where that is, probably, but it was, a bright, sunny, beautiful day, and we're standing at the side of this this turn off on the highway, and you've got water stretching out for miles on either side, and we're just getting out to stretch our legs, and my mom is standing there, and she just kind of leans back and reaches her arms out to her sides, and I am snapping photos and just managed to get this one shot of her, and the way that she's positioned in that frame and the way that I captured her in that one moment just standing there by herself, it was just this moment of just capturing a moment of like pure like joy and like reaching out into eternity on either side, and just, you know, freedom and basking in the sunshine and everything, and capturing moments like that, like what Andy was talking about, you know, just capturing these moments that are never going to happen again. Like, that's what photography is about for me. You know, like I do ancestry kind of for the same reason, but photography is a little bit different. You know, there are these things happening around us all the time, and, you know, there are these little moments that may seem incidental, you know, but they're important to someone, and they're beautiful somehow, and just being able to capture them and maybe tell a story about what's going on in some part of the world somewhere at some time, you know, that's important to me to be able to do that.
So would you say the subject of photography, is it being diluted because everyone's got access to this, and because the price of cameras has been falling as well, and it's now easier to get into? So because there is a lot of people think, you know, because a lot of people own higher end digital SLRs now, or mirrorless cameras, and I think people think, oh, I've got a good camera, I must be able to take a good picture. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's not necessarily the case. There's a little bit more to it than that. But yeah, it goes back to the whole, oh, that looks easy, it must be easy.
Yeah, it's like I had all my kit nicked beginning of this year, which sucked, while I was away in New Zealand. But my friends lent me their camera, which was a kind of a low-range DSLR camera, and just a little kit lens. So, I mean, I went from, let's say, about £10,000 worth of equipment to about £200 in the space of a day. And I took some of the best pictures I've taken in like the last 5 years with that little camera. By the way. Oh, hang about. Am I back?
Yeah, there we go.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah, I went from £10,000 worth of kit to about £200 worth of kit. And I took some of my best pictures because I didn't have all the toys with me anymore. All of a sudden, I had to sit and think and work my way around problems. And, you know, it just took that out of the equation. And it was so liberating. And all of a sudden, so now when I go out, I don't take 2 or 3 lenses with me. I'll just take one and see what I can get with that. And I won't get everything I could potentially see, but I'll be able to get something. And, you know, it just kind of forces you to... I generally use a prime because I can't just lazily zoom in or zoom out. I've got to walk forward or walk backwards. You know, I've got to think about what I'm taking as I'm taking it. But to your question, Elton, I think now everyone's gotten hold of cameras and Instagram and all this sort of stuff. It's diluting the art, if you want to sound really poncy. Again, I think now we live in a world where every moment is captured, and I mean that in a sense of not a second goes by without someone having taken a picture. If it was possible, I think you could basically play out from maybe about, let's say, 3 or 4 years ago, every moment of human existence up until now, there was a photo taken in that instant. But not every one of those photos are worthwhile, and not every one of those photos are art. So it's one of, I don't know about you guys, but when I see a picture from, you know, one of these photographers, you know, the ones we admire, there's something about it and you just know that's art, but you couldn't tell why it is. It just clicks. It works. Again, that picture I posted of the guy walking towards the thing, I know that's art, but it's also just a bloke walking to work. But it's just, it's just that sort of thing, you know, it's.
I actually thought that was from the film Leon.
Ah, no, I took that one.
I thought that was Leon walking into the distance. Maybe that man has got a gun on him.
You never know. I mean, he is in France, so it's possible.
It's true, yeah, they all do, don't they?
But he doesn't have a pocket plan, so, you know.
So, well, Okay, you say that every moment is captured. So why haven't we caught aliens or UFOs? Why are they always blurry? What's going on with the photographers there? Is it
because
all just
everybody
doctored?
is busy photographing their food.
If you're lucky, it's their food.
Yeah, or selfies.
No,
Yeah.
it's an actual phenomenon which people have remarked upon. It's that ever since cameras became so ubiquitous, the sightings of Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, aliens and stuff like that in the sky have decreased exponentially, because all of a sudden, you've all seen that famous picture of Bigfoot, yeah? The one where he's kind of walking off and all this. It's just like, not a single person now walks through that forest without a phone on them with a camera. And it's just like, so many of these things, otherworldly kind of supernatural things where I'm trying to say this in a way which doesn't sound terribly disrespectful to people who believe in this, but all that bullshit which people believe in. I'm very much of, look, I know the camera can lie. I know very well a camera can lie. Some of the stuff Lee does when he's doing science fiction, his CGI stuff and all that is mind-blowing. But at the same time, not everyone has access to that, and because you don't see it, it's just like, nah, it's just not there. At least that's my 2 cents. It's also why I find conspiracy theories, as a rule, tiresome, especially in this day and age.
Right. Okay, well, remind me not to invite you onto the conspiracy episode.
No, do so. It'll be fun. I'll be the guy in the corner throwing rocks at everyone.
Well, with all this technology, like Photoshop and all the other stuff that you can get, is it too easy to doctor these sort of photos and create fakes? And what do you guys think of, like, when you splice 2 or 3 photos together, like, let's say, of Jupiter? That's not a real image of Jupiter. That's 7, 12, 20 photos spliced together to get the best, corner there, the best bit down there, the best bit up there, all put together to create one big photo. Is that still photography in its greatest essence?
Oh yeah,
I mean,
I think so.
Something like that. I think you're basically putting photos together and manipulating photos for a practical purpose. I mean, you might not be able to get, depending on the camera that you have or the image sensor that you have, you might not be able to get the whole thing that you're trying to photograph in one frame. So putting everything together, using multiple exposures is fine. But I think when you look at other types of photo manipulation where you're actually changing details of images, like trying to, composite someone's head on someone else's body, or, change the way a person looks, or change someone's hair color or skin tone, I think that's where I kind of draw the line. I think that's disingenuous. And I'm not down for that kind of thing.
Yeah. What about yourself, Greg? Do you like mucking around with the photos before or after?
I tinker with them a certain degree. Most of the ones that I posted from this weekend were messed with, basically. But only to the point of turning them black and white and bumping up the contrast to give them that kick. But I don't generally tend to mess around with it that much. It's, if you can get it right in the camera, then all well and good. But if you need to rescue something in Photoshop, the option's there.
Yeah, so you're not actually taking the photos in black and white, you're just taking them in standard colour, is that right?
Yeah, if you saw the photos that I took, like the ones of the weekend, after the shindig, the colour ones look very flat and rather dull. Because the format that I shoot in is the raw format that the camera shoots in is just the basic image as your eye would see it, more or less.
Yeah.
And it's pretty dull and lackluster. It's only till you give it a bit of visual clout with some contrast and a bit of exposure tweaking. Then it starts to take on the look that it does.
Yeah, because I really.
But generally, I don't mess with them too much.
Yeah, the one I really did like was the one at the was it a tube station?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what are you doing
Is
there?
that the one is that the one with the train arriving with the lights trails?
Yeah,
the
the light trails. Yeah.
Canada.
Yeah. So that's just yeah, exactly. It took me ages to get that. That was just a long exposure. I set the camera up so that it would need a long exposure to get enough light in, and it was long enough for the train to cover the distance of the tunnel to the end of the platform, so you get the nice light trail all the way through, and then a vague ghosty image of the train.
Nice.
And the same with the one of the Tate Modern. That was a 1 minute exposure, so you can see the clouds blurred, but everything else is still, nice and steady.
Yeah.
But those kind of things require a bit of patience and a tripod, which you can't do on the underground, hence why the camera was just sat on the floor.
Yeah, yeah. So, has anyone got any horror stories of, taking the perfect photo they thought they got, and they got some dickhead in the background either photobombing it, or, you've caught something that maybe you shouldn't have? Like a murder or something?
No, not quite that. I did do a family photo shoot a couple of years ago, and took about 50 or 60 images in the space of a couple of hours, and then sat down to go through them on the back of the camera just to give them a quick preview. And the last menu setting that I had the camera on was format card, and I clicked straight onto that and pressed format card, and then it was all gone.
Oh no!
So yeah, that was my moment. And they sort of looked at the screen, looked back at me, looked at the screen, and said, "Have you just deleted them all?" I said, "I think I may have done, yes." So that was a bit of a faux pas.
When I was going out shooting the images for that one series of 8, I went out, I think, on my second day of shooting for that, and still had my settings for the previous day. And I had been shooting in daylight when I first started that. So I went out shooting the next day, but at night with the settings from the previous day, and everything went horribly, horribly wrong.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I think I must have shot like 50 or 60 images before I realized it, which is why I now always look at my first 2 or 3 images before I continue what I'm doing. So I don't have to go through the heartbreak of having to scrap, It's easily
done as well.
Yeah.
Especially if you're shooting in complete manual mode and you're responsible for everything the camera does. It's easy to think, well, I was indoors in a dark room, I had the shutter speed really low, now I'm outside in bright sunshine, and you end up with just a completely white screen.
Yeah.
You think, what happened? What's going on?
And my school, for my classes, from day one, everything has been manual mode. We're not allowed to shoot in any other mode. So it's I'm used to that now. Even when I'm doing stuff, just personal stuff, I'm in manual mode. So yeah I forget.
Aperture priority for the win. Sorry.
That's not even allowed.
You say that.
I will use.
I was going to say, those you got that photo bundle pack, yeah, Melissa?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a whole video in there about why you should not be in manual mode unless you absolutely have to be in manual mode.
Well, okay, but it'll if I put it in aperture priority mode, that'll show up in the metadata, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, and my instructors check the metadata.
Oh,
that's just mean.
It is.
I'll use manual aperture and shutter priority for the most part, but it just depends on the circumstances. When you get to when you're shooting something, you'll know what you need to shoot it in, and you'll do it in that mode.
But surely, if you're given all these tools, that you should be allowed to use all the tools at your disposal.
Well, I don't think there's any shame in shooting
might be an asshole. No, not at all.
Well, no, it's about learning how to make sure that, we can get a proper exposure and proper color balance and all that kind of stuff, on our own. Because if you put it in automatic mode, then the camera kind of does all that stuff for you. So I can understand that, but, it'd be nice to be able to use aperture priority or shutter priority or even like auto bracketing. We're not even allowed to use that.
See, that pisses me off. That just strikes me as being awkward for the sake of being awkward. Because
that's very restrictive.
For me, it's very much a case of, with photography, like I said, it's about the moment. It's about just capturing that moment. Now, like you said, you're walking down the street and all of a sudden you see something, it's like, I want to get that picture. If you're in manual mode and you have to go and check your settings because you were in a dark room the other day and now you're outside in bright sunlight, by the time you've got your settings all sorted, that moment's gone and you've missed that image.
Yeah.
Whereas I think there's no shame in shooting an automatic if that's the quickest way for you to get that image. I mean, don't get me wrong. Photographers will look so far down their nose at you, you won't believe it. But it's still a case of, I'd rather shoot an automatic and get the image.
And get the shot.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's the most important thing, is getting the shot.
Mm-hmm.
But, although I think this semester... I was just saying, I think this semester I'm doing Photoshop. So I don't think this semester matters so much what mode we shoot in. So maybe I'll just throw it in automatic and see what happens. Just be like, throw caution to the wind.
I'll change settings as the scene dictates. But if I'm just out and about, doing a bit of street photography here and there, it's generally in shutter priority, set to around 120, and then I'll let the camera select the ISO and the aperture, and it's usually within a couple of fractions of a stop either way, bang on.
Did you understand any of it, Elton?
No, this is where I'm getting lost. Because I bought my son a middling to very, very cheap camera. He wanted a camera. And it's got all these settings on there. And you go through it and you take a photo. And I know that what an aperture is, but why do I need to either have it really quick or really slow, or I just want to take a photo.
No, and that's what you should do. So just take your photo, stick your camera in automatic and take your picture. But what you'll do is, and this is just general, like I said, I've had no formal training. My university was film theory. There was no real technical stuff involved in that. Everything I've learned on the camera, it's just learned by playing with it and figuring out stuff. When I first started, I shot everything in automatic. And if I had a picture which I really liked, I'd look at the settings, and it will tell you the settings the camera chose for that image. And you'll start to understand that the images which you like and are kind of, exposed nicely and everything like this, you'll start to get a feel for that, and then you can start experimenting. Sometimes you'll take a picture in automatic mode and it's not what you want. Then you switch it into one of the other modes and just start moving the settings up or down until you figure out what it works. Unless you are, like Melissa's doing a course or like literally focusing on it, I don't think there's any point in you spending a lot of time trying to learn how to use the camera. Just go out and take the pictures, enjoy taking the pictures, and then because you've become interested in it and passionate about it, hopefully, you'll want to learn to do more. It's the same like with your model making and stuff like that. You want to learn a technique, so you'll read up on it and you'll experiment, but for the most part, you'll just literally kind of like, just smack it with a hammer and see what happens.
Yeah.
When you're starting out, that's just how it should be with photography. Get the image. Don't worry about people telling you, oh, the settings aren't right and this isn't right. You should be shooting with that lens at that speed and all that. Fuck them. Go out and take the picture you want. And then once you start getting your head around what you want to take a bit more, then you'll just get better and better with it. And as with everything, the more you do it, the better you'll get with it.
So every photo I take on my son's camera, it's got metadata on it that tells me all the settings on there.
It should do, yeah. Yep. I mean, if you put them into, I don't know what, if you've got some software for capturing your pictures down on your computer, it'll give you the settings in there, and it will tell you the exposure, the shutter speed, the ISO, and it will tell you all this sort of thing. And like I said, find a picture you like, read the settings, and you'll start to understand why having a higher aperture means that the focus is blurrier behind what you're focused on. Whereas if you have a higher aperture, lower aperture, whichever way it is, higher f-stop, all of a sudden everything's in focus.
Right. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that it recorded what was going on the camera.
Even your iPhone, or even your phone cameras, record that data.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
If you,
Yep.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's all there. If you look on Flickr as well, if you scroll, like find anyone's picture and then scroll slightly down, there'll be a drop down underneath with the make of camera, the lens that we used, the shutter speed, aperture, ISO, everything basically.
Mm.
So you can see what other people have used as well.
That's awesome. That's very geeky, but very awesome.
Do you use the Mac, Elton?
Yeah.
iPhoto or Photos now has that information. You just right click on a photo and do get info, and it'll tell you what camera it was and what settings, and you've got all that information right there.
Oh, I honestly didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll open mine up and it'll just say settings. Yeah, Elton took this one. Elton took this one. Kimmy took this one. Jacob took this one. Elton took this one. Oh, look, this one's blurry. It must be Kimmy running.
Well, yep, now you can go into your settings and figure out why is it blurry.
Yeah. Because I've got a child running at 4 miles an hour. Oh, yeah, that's right.
You need a faster shutter speed.
Okay, Rob, well, since we're on iPhones, is it true the iPhone, phone cameras in general, they have the noise of the shutter on there? Is that because there was a lot of upskirt shots in the very beginning and they wanted to warn people that there was a camera going off?
I don't think that's the...
I've heard that rumour.
I've heard the rumour, but since you can still disable that sound, I don't think that's the main reason it's there.
No.
So why is the sound there? Is it just a comfort thing?
It's partly a comfort thing. It's partly so you understand that you've taken the picture. You know,
I've just thought of a really fucking wicked question. Okay. Fucking sorry. Digital cameras.
Yes.
You press it. You press the button halfway,
Mm-hmm.
and it focuses. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it depend on what camera you've got? That sometimes you'll press it, and then it'll be like a billion years later before it actually takes a photo.
I used to have a camera like that.
Yeah.
Our first digital camera was some shitty old Olympus thing, and yeah, you took a picture. Well, you pressed a button, and about 30 seconds later, it would take the picture.
Yeah.
That was just it was a waste, a complete waste of space. It was like taking a picture in the Victorian era, and it's like, hold it for 30 seconds, hold it, hold it, hold it.
Wait for the gunpowder to go off.
Okay, and we're taking a picture now. It was like that. So
is that down to the type of camera, or is that down to digital cameras per se?
It was early digital cameras.
Yeah.
Early digital cameras, or now cheap digital cameras, or rather shit digital cameras. Yeah, it was back in the day. Without getting massively technical, it was down to the amount of time it took to process the image into the bus before it went onto the camera memory. So that took a long time. Whereas now it's instantaneous because we've got really fast processors in our cameras and stuff, and can use them for video. Yay!
Mm-hmm.
Right, yeah, because there's been many times. My very first digital camera was just a tiny little thing, and the batteries were chomped up within like 10 shots. And
I remember those days.
It was a camera where I've noticed you have to clip off the battery housing and expose the batteries so they don't drain away. Otherwise, they're just sitting there, just dying. And
Wow!
If you don't use your camera for a week, then you go back and, I'm going to take something. Oh, the batteries are dead. I have to
Was it made in North Korea by any chance?
It run on plutonium.
Unobtainium.
Do you not have that now? Even
No.
my son's camera now has that.
Really?
Yeah. It's not... He hasn't got a rechargeable battery in there. It's just, double A's in there.
Yeah.
But if you leave it sitting there for a week and you go back there, the batteries are really poor.
Is the camera switched off?
As much as you can when you press the on-off button, and it turns off and does all that zooming thing, and it goes to sleep.
Oh, I know what that's going to be then. Your camera presumably needs an electric charge to keep stuff stored in its memory, like settings and things like that, so it's always drawing a current.
Yeah.
That would be my thought. Whereas DSLRs have, you know how on cartridges you used to have like little watch batteries or whatever it was? They have one of those for its settings, and its main battery is just for running the camera.
Right, okay, so they're going to have a watch battery on the motherboard, just ticking away.
Yeah, that would be my thought anyway. Which takes charge from a main battery whenever one's plugged into it. Yeah, but I mean, cameras these days for DSLRs, I mean, phone cameras are infinitely better than pretty much any cameras that have been up until this era sort of thing. I mean, so when we say something like ISO on a camera, that used to be on the speed of the film, and I think the best you used to be able to get, maybe someone could correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think it was like 500 ISO was like super high sensitive film, and that means it's very good in low light. It allows a lot of light to be captured onto the film and exposed. I've got a 7D Mark II here in front of me now, and the highest ISO setting on here is 51,200. Which is insane. I think if I was to take a picture of the back of the lens cap, it would show detail. I'm tempted to test that, actually.
Wow.
Did you hear about the new, is it a Sony, I think, that's got like 14 million ISO?
Yeah, the new Canon, 4 million ISO.
Oh, it's a Canon. Okay.
Yeah.
It's I mean, it's all noise, but...
And they've also doing 128 megapixel sensor.
Well, that's kind of insane.
Are people shooting billboards in the darkness of space? Is that what they need this for?
It's the same with TVs. It's like they've announced 8K TVs now.
You can't see that though.
Well,
my eyes don't even see
it
in HD.
You can't transmit it. You have a TV of which you cannot process or show anything. Just so you can say, I have an 8K TV.
Mm-hmm.
Just for the privilege of paying the money to say you have it.
Yes.
Oh my god.
So, okay, right. What about history of cameras? I would take you through my history of cameras. My very first camera was given to me by my nan, my wonderful Nan Mac, and she gave me one of these rectangular cameras where you slid it open and the button was exposed, and then you could see through the middle.
I never saw. Did you used to? The film had like, it was long and thin and had the
two spools in each end.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't that Instamatic?
It wasn't an instant camera. You started to develop it.
No, it was no. Was it called Instamatic?
I'm not sure.
Or am I thinking of something else? I know the ones you mean.
It was
my nan's one used to have the handle used to fold over from the top, and it looked like a pistol grip.
Oh, no. This wasn't like that. No, I've just Googled it.
Imagine it was probably about maybe 2 inches deep, maybe an inch thickness, and about 4 inches long. And then you put your hand on each side of it and pull each end away. And in the middle, you'd have a spy hole.
I know the one you mean.
I know what you're talking about.
It was a 110 film camera. That's what they were.
Yes.
Right, let me just to Google.
To the internet.
I had one of those.
And my dad also had. We bought him for, I think, his 45th birthday. We bought him a disc camera, where the film was actually a disc that you put inside. It wasn't like a compact disc. It was,
I know the ones. Yeah,
it looked like a ViewMaster.
That's it. Yeah.
Those things were terrible.
Yep, they were.
They were absolute gash.
Yes, the 110s. Yeah. That was it. All in black though.
Yes.
I was thinking. I've just found on Google myself. I was thinking of. It's called the Kodak Pocket Instamatic, and it's like a looks like a large TV remote with a viewfinder at one end and a lens in the middle,
right,
and a big plastic bulb flash that sits on top.
Yes. Oh.
And the flash you'd have like 12 flashes in one block.
Oh
and it would
my
go off
god!
one at a time.
Yes.
Or there would be 4. There's one with 4 on, and it would spin round to use the next bulb.
That's right.
I think I actually had that camera.
My
nan had one.
Yeah, I think my nan had one of them, but she never had the flash with it. So
The flash used to fit on top.
Yeah, it was a little hole inside, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was like you either had
like
a single flash in just a cube, or you had like a block of 6 upright ones, which looked like a little lighthouse on top of your camera.
And to wind your film on, you had to close the camera and open it again.
Yeah, that was it.
Oh man,
that's what the handle was for. On my nan's one, it used to flip. The handle would like be a cover, and you would flip it over the top, and it would be hinged at one end. So when the handle was down underneath, it looked a bit like a pistol.
Wow.
That you were holding sideways.
It's like a Winchester of the camera.
Exactly. I'm trying to find a picture of it, but the damn thing's eluding me.
Oh, awesome. I mean, I never had one, but I loved those really old pocket cameras where you'd kind of like open it up and then you'd pull out the lens and you had like the bellows system. They looked gorgeous. Do you know the sort I mean?
Yeah,
I have one sitting on my shelf right now.
A
pocket camera, but it's got like the bellows system on.
Yeah, I just loved the look of those. You know, it's like old books. You know, you kind of picture, you know, an old library with leather wingback chairs and one of those cameras somewhere, and it'd be a wooden globe in the corner for some reason. I don't know why, but it would be
a wooden globe that opens up to reveal.
That opens up to be a wet bar. Yes.
Yeah. And a telescope somewhere.
Yes.
It has to be a telescope.
Be careful, that's a $6,400 globe.
I think Jim Moon has this room.
I think I've just described the Library of Dreams.
Jim is sat there with Mr. Owl on a T-bar.
He sat in that room going, they're looking at me, aren't they? Where are they? How can they see me from here?
Sense something I've not sensed since...
Since the shindig.
Yeah. Probably still drinking to get over a birdemic.
That was just a hangover.
Jeez. What about you guys? What did you start on?
I was given a 35mm film camera when I was about 10, I think, from my uncle when he died. And then that went round with me for a little while. And I sort of lost interest a bit, and then got into video in my late 20s, early 30s, and then got a bit bored with that and went onto digital SLRs, and have been for best part of 7 years now.
Nice.
I started with much like yourself, Elton, one of those 110 cameras, which I think I still have somewhere. I'm going to have to go and have a look for that tomorrow.
I'm going on eBay now just to, not buy one, honestly.
Yeah. My dad used to have a Canon DSLR, an AE1, I think it was. But again, never used it. He had it. My first camera was a Nikon D40, which I bought after I left university because I thought, I have money now, I will buy a camera. And yeah, I enjoyed taking pictures of that. But then I saw the light. I saw the light that it was Canon, and it welcomed me into its embrace, and I crossed to the dark side, or whatever euphemism you want to make for that. And it was a 60D. At the minute, I might possibly have a bit of an addiction, but I currently have a 5D Mark III and a 7D Mark II and a 60D, but that's not mine, that's someone else's.
See, I only have the one at the moment. There is possibly a 7D Mark II in the near future.
It's very nice.
But, I've got the 5D Mark III. I would still have my original 7D if I hadn't suffered catastrophic damage in the form of the bent pins on the card reader, which would have cost more to repair than the camera was worth at the time. So, yes.
Oh, that sucks.
I know. Unfortunately,
I still have my 5D Mark II if some cunts hadn't nicked it. Oh well.
Yeah. Fuck those assholes.
Bastards. I've just found one of these 110 tele cameras, Flashmatics. Flipping hell. Do I want one right now or what?
I had to look Flashmatic.
Yeah, it had the cover on the flash. It was,
Yes,
it was built into it.
I
And
had
you had to
one of those.
slide it across, and you also had a normal button on there and a square button for taking the actual photos. Oh man, these are amazing! I'm going to get one of these.
You can still get the film from as well. They still make the film.
And then I'd have all the wonderful fun of going to Boots and the choice of a 24-hour development or 1 hour development.
You know, I love digital because it's instant and, you know, you can see it, but I do kind of miss the taking it to the developer's experience sort of thing. And then when you get your pictures back, you know, looking through them and seeing if anything came out.
Someone's put a little sticky label on there because they know best. You should have used more light in this photo.
Yeah. We didn't fuck this picture up. You did.
That's exactly what that sticker means, though.
I remember holiday photos from when I was a kid, and my mum took an impromptu one of my dad in the shower, and it came back with that sticker on saying that it was inappropriate. Strategically placed.
Nice.
So yeah, they all saw my dad's cock.
Did anyone have Polaroid?
I did.
No, I never had one.
Did you like it, Melissa?
Oh, I loved my Polaroid. I just took like bullshit pictures and wasted so much film, but it was so much fun.
Expensive.
Yeah, it was insanely expensive.
It really was. It was prohibitively expensive for the amount of bullshit I photographed. It was basically like one summer, my sister and I spent like all of our days in Walmart just buying Polaroid film for this camera, and we just took stupid pictures of one another and everything around us, and it was just fun, you know, photographing these pictures and then shaking them to develop them, even though you're not supposed to do that. And oh god, I miss my Polaroid. I really do.
You know, you can still get them.
I still have mine in the loft.
Oh,
It's not an original one, though. It was from... Oh, when did I buy that? Probably about... It was late 90s that I bought mine. Mm-hmm. So they were old hat at the time. But I thought, no, I've always wanted a Polaroid. I'll get it. And it was just brilliant. You know, but I didn't realise how expensive the film would be. Because you're buying film and a battery at the same time, though, aren't you?
mm-hmm.
Yeah, the battery was in the film.
Which was bonkers.
Was it like 10 or 12 exposures or something?
Yeah, it wasn't many.
Mm-mm.
But how iconic are those pictures? I mean, just everyone has in their mind that image of a Polaroid picture, and there's a certain emotional, you know, it's that instantness of that moment, which now we take for granted with digital. But back then, it was like we've all seen, and it's a cliche in films, but you know, the Polaroid picture stuck to a mirror or something like that. It's the medium itself is iconic.
Yeah.
And just not to derail, but awesome segue I want to say is, why don't people fucking print pictures anymore?
Yeah.
Like
I still do.
But I do as well, but it's just like, again, because you don't go to Boots and get your pictures back and all that now, so many of my pictures are just digital. They only exist digitally. You know, they don't exist in the world. I love printing my pictures, and I got some friends who took a couple of pictures I took. One is that one of the guy walking towards the Arc de Triomphe. The other is a picture I took in London of a couple walking in front of Big Ben. And they printed them out, framed them, and they hang them in a living room. And it's just like, I get such a thrill out of thinking that someone has my work on display. It's just like, that's fucking awesome. You know?
That is awesome.
Well, I've had 6 requests for prints for the ones that I took at the weekend already.
See,
Just
I'm shaking my fist at you, Greg.
Just blowing me away, because I didn't set out to do that. They were just, you know, I wasn't even going to take the camera with me. It was just a last minute decision. I thought, no, I'll take it. I won't take it to the shindig, but I will take it around London on the way there and on the way back. And yeah, now people have been like, I want that picture on my lounge wall. And I'm like, sweet. I'm impressed.
Well, you have to see it when you go to a hotel and they've always got pictures on the wall. And
yeah.
And I look and I go, I know I can do better than this.
Exactly.
Why are my pictures not hanging on this hotel room? Someone else is going, I can do better than that. Damn it. I want my pictures to be sold to hotels to hang in generic rooms.
Well, why don't you just take them and then just replace the
Put your own up.
pictures there? Yeah.
I want someone to pay me to do it too.
Yeah. That is an important part of it.
Yeah.
But you could leave messages behind it.
I like Imagine Peace.
Is that a film?
Have you managed to wash it out of your brain already?
I'm trying to think. Go on, you're going to have to remind me.
You know, in Birdemic, there's that bit in that hotel.
Oh, yes.
It's just a poster with Imagine Peace written on it.
Yeah, I tried to forget that already. It was just... No, I'm not gonna talk about it. You nearly got me onto that. I'm not doing that.
Next time, damn it! Next time.
I'm so sad I missed that one.
I've dodged that bullet so far.
Awesome on the chat. Double exposures. Anyone remember that?
Yes.
Oh, it used to use such awesome effects when you take a picture and not wind a furlong on one and take another picture. And, you know, I love the fact that in itself became a kind of art. I mean, you can do some cool stuff now, like light painting with DSLRs and everything like that, which is loads of fun. But there was so many ways you could take what could be perceived as a flaw or a fault with the camera and turn it into something awesome. You know, do some really abstract stuff, which was great.
And like like I have a Holga, so like a toy camera that leaks just insane amounts of light. So you get this cheap plastic camera that isn't seen as like a professional tool by any means, but the fact that it's this flawed piece of technology, like that right there, is kind of a becomes an artistic thing.
Yeah.
Film camera, and you get all this light through it, and all these crazy effects happen because of this shitty little camera.
It's chemistry.
It used to be chemistry, unfortunately not anymore. But yeah, I know what you mean. I while I was at university, they did have a photographic department there, and whenever you used to walk by it, you had the smell of the chemicals. And again, kind of nostalgic for that smell.
Jack in
the dark room.
In the chat room has put, when he said about double exposures,
Yeah.
below that he said, seeing the ghost of your mum floating over Bournemouth. Now that would be awesome.
I wonder if there's a way to do that now with digital cameras. I wonder if there's a way to do double exposures on DSLRs.
There's a setting in your 5D Mark III.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's in there. It's in the image menu. I've tried it. It's pretty good. You can either gotta select it and then take 2 shots, or choose 2 shots you've already had.
Now, you see, Greg, next time you come up to London, I want to go and walk around town and take pictures with you, because just seeing the city through someone else's eyes, sort of thing.
Absolutely.
And it's just, I don't know about you, the rest of you guys, but I always want to go out and just do photo walks and take pictures.
Yeah,
I never do it when I'm on my own. But I just feel like if I go out with someone else, and you don't want to go out with someone who's not a photographer, because while you're trying to get a picture, they're bored, they're chatting away.
Yeah.
Fuck off. But when you're with another photographer and you both take a picture of the same thing, and then you look at the pictures and they're like wildly different, and understanding why they're wildly different, that's tons of fun as well.
Okay.
Well,
right.
I had a look at a few of the ones on your 7D Mark II when I was trying that lens out the other night, and
Oh yes.
there were some cracking shots, and I was like, I would never have thought of shooting that like that.
I think they were all shit. I've not posted a single one of those.
No, they weren't. There were some good ones there, and it gave me ideas of where to go and shoot next time.
When you come to pick up that lens, then.
Yes, yeah, definitely, we'll do it.
So when are you guys going to come to New York and do a photo walk with me?
Oh, if only. If only the finances would allow.
I want to come over to do Dragon Con next year. So if I do that, I'm almost definitely going to come to New York. Because why wouldn't I?
If you three are going to be doing a photo walk with all your DSLRs and fancy shit, I'm definitely buying this 110 and just going around with that.
And going with it.
Do it. Make it happen.
Let me ask Catherine. See if I can go. Catherine, can I go to New York? She said, with what?
Well, a camera, obviously.
Well, my camera. I think she's meaning in terms of finance. Not
a camera,
shirt buttons.
a gun, and a pencil
Not
case.
shirt buttons. Definitely a pencil case.
That sounds like the beginning of a Blues Brothers, isn't it? You know, 150 miles from Chicago. We've got a full tank of gas and a pack of cigarettes, and we're wearing sunglasses. Let's go. I don't know about you guys. Elton, you were saying, we'll segue all the way back to pencil cases here, about sometimes want to draw. I cannot draw. Like, at least in my mind, I can't draw. You know, I have it, you know, I know what I want to draw. That never comes out to pencil at the end. So I consider myself a frustrated artist. But with a camera, I can make art. And that is why I persevere with this. And this is why when I see pictures like Greg's and it's art, I'm like, I want to make that. And you know, I want to keep at it and just keep trying to push on it, you know. And there's so much, again, going to sound poncy here, but there's so much beauty in the world. And I will capture it all. I will capture its soul.
Well, okay, going off of that, iconic photos of like from the press. What does everyone remember?
There's so much power with it.
Yeah.
I always remember, and I did this because it was part of a thing I did at university. It was an image of a girl from Vietnam running towards the camera.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and what the lesson we were being told was every time you see an image in the press or pretty much anywhere, you have to understand that image is telling the story that someone wants you to read. And the story that was originally being told with that picture, and also that one, also from Vietnam, of the guy being shot on the streets.
Yes.
Yeah.
They were both used to promote an anti-war sort of thing, like the Americans are out there destroying everything and they're very bad and all this sort of thing. But what you didn't know is, A, the context of the image. So the guy being shot was a terrorist who just killed the family of one of the police lieutenants, I believe, under the guy. So he probably shouldn't have been executing him in the streets, but this guy wasn't a civilian who the evil police were just executing for the hell of it. And the girl crying, was running towards a US medic and stuff like that. But those bits were cropped out of the image. And so it was very important to understand that every time you see a picture, you need to understand context. You see it on Facebook all the time now. People will post saying, this isn't a picture of refugees here. This is a picture from here. Don't just trust what you see on the internet at face value, because a picture is worth 1,000 words, but you have to know what language it's in, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You have to understand the context with it. So, yeah, I mean, in terms of powerful, iconic photos, you know, there was the falling man from 9/11.
Yeah.
That's an incredibly powerful photo. And again, there's a whole series of those photos, but it's just that one. There's something about that image. There's a serenity to it.
And recently the child on the beach.
Yeah.
The Syrian
Again,
child on the beach, which is
just,
gone massively viral, and they're likely to be up for a Pulitzer Prize for that photo.
There's a famous one of that girl from Afghanistan. The
one with the eyes. Yeah,
and those eyes.
Beautiful photo.
It's like the Mona Lisa smile. There's something about those eyes where you just stare at it for hours, and it's just like you just. It's so informative and yet so ambiguous at the same time. You know, there's so many photography, and that's another thing I love about photography. It's one of the great things about living at this time. Because, you know, you go back 150 years, there was almost no cameras. So these iconic moments of history were just never captured. Say whether or not you want to say it's good that these images have been captured or not, but they exist now. So they inform future generations. You know, you can look at this and say, this is my view of what happened. And you can kind of share that with people. Whereas before, you'd have to go off and, again, you know, say the Battle of Trafalgar. There was no cameras there. So all that exists now are paintings taken by people based off of stories. There's nothing there. But from the Second World War, we've got video and photos from Pearl Harbor and all this informing what happened there, sort of thing. And just these iconic moments, you know, again, Armstrong on the moon. How mind-blowing is that? That out of all of human history, sort of thing, we have an image of the first time a man set foot on another planet, where if you bear in mind there's like hundreds and millions of years of evolution, everything leading up to that one point, and we're at a point now where we could have that image. It exists.
Wasn't that Buzz Aldrin in the photo though?
That picture is of Buzz Aldrin, but there are pictures of Neil Armstrong on the moon as well. I mean, there was cameras mounted on the LEM, but the famous one, you're right, is Buzz Aldrin, because almost all of the ones are taken by Buzz, because Neil was taking the pictures.
He probably formatted his disc or something, something stupid like that, I'd imagine.
What a
Do
dick.
I want to format this?
There is a great picture, though, of Neil Armstrong in the lunar module afterwards, where he's just smiling, and it's just such a great candid shot, which just it's so emotive and so expressive. It just is so awesome.
What about yourself, Greg? Any iconic ones that burn into your brain?
The one of the U.S. military raising the flag at Iwo Jima. And you got the five or six soldiers pushing the flag up at the end of the war.
Wasn't that a staged photo?
I think that was a staged one, but the original one, I don't think it was quite as epic, and they missed it.
Yeah.
But they were asked to do it again, but it's I think it's still an iconic.
It's still an iconic shot, absolutely.
Iconic image.
Again,
it's another example of you missed that moment.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what it was in reference to. There's another one as well that's always caught my eye. It's the sailor in Times Square, and he's just got the girl in the white dress and lent her back and give her a big kiss. I'm guessing that's at the end of the war as well.
Yes,
yeah,
it's off the cover of Life magazine. I think
Jack mentioned that in the chat. Said he saw a clip on a show about it, and then the narrator discussed how creepy it actually was.
Right.
Sure.
What about yourself, Melissa?
I forget who actually took the photo, but there's this one photo taken during the Depression of a woman and her children, a black and white photo, obviously.
I know the one you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just this, very closely cropped in photo of this woman looking absolutely despondent during the Depression, and it really captures like the despair in this woman's face. Like, you realize how desperate the times were then, and you see the grief on her face of, how is she going to make it through this? How is she going to take care of her family? And it's just such an evocative photo. I forget who took it, but they did just such an amazing job of capturing the expression and capturing the emotion in this one moment. And it stays just burned into my brain. It really is just such an amazing shot.
It's iconic. There was I can't remember the name of the guy. He took a very famous photo of Churchill during the war. And it's like a famous portrait where he's kind of like, he's got his hand on the back of a chair and his hand on the hip, and he's just looking very dour and kind of like growling at the thing. And I remember reading a story. He was a very famous portrait photographer, this guy. It's Yusuf Koch, something like that. Anyway, Churchill walked in, sort of thing, was already in a bit of a bad mood, didn't particularly want to have his picture taken, and he had his cigar in his mouth. So the guy yanked Churchill's cigar out, and then that was it. Like, Churchill, put his head down, put his hand on his hip. He was not a happy bunny. And the guy got this picture, and it just kind of embodied him. One image which just embodied the character so perfectly well. And again, there's other pictures from that series where he's laughing and smiling, but it was just this one image which just perfectly... It said so much about who he was and where he was, and it just informed so much. And I love that people take these pictures which inform so much about it. I mean, I don't do a lot of portraiture or stuff with people, which I think is just down to the fact that I am by my nature very introverted and quite shy. I'm not comfortable doing it, but I look at stuff like by what's her name, Annie Leibovitz.
Yes.
I look at some of her. The fact that you have people fly around the world to come and have their picture taken by her, and the work she does is just amazing. And it's just like, I want to be that. I want to be able to take pictures where people will travel around the world because they want the picture taken. And that's not an ego thing like I want it for me. It's because I want to be able to see and to capture that essence like she can and like these other great photographers can. And that's what I really, just...
She has this way of photographing people where it looks like you're just staring into who they are. Like, it's not like you're looking at a photograph of a person. It's like you're looking at their soul. And it's amazing.
That guy was called Yusuf Kosh. That was the guy. He was a Canadian, Armenian-Canadian portrait photographer. But yeah, I'll post a link to the Churchill picture into the Mixlr chat.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm actually posting a link to the image I was talking about. It was by Dorothea Lange.
Oh, yeah.
One image that does get me. Does everyone know the image of John Lennon signing the autograph for Mark Chapman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just ominous. It's just creepy as fuck.
Yeah.
It is.
Really is. You know, a couple hours later, you bastard.
But the interesting thing with that is objectively taken on its own, I don't think anyone would call that a good photo. It's... The photo itself, if I remember correctly, is, it's just like someone today with an iPhone would take a picture of someone while they're doing a signing or something like this.
Yeah.
It's just a nice, candid shot.
It's just a snapshot.
It's just a snapshot. Yeah, it's a candid snapshot. But when you add the weight of, the story around that photo and it adds all this extra meaning onto it, all of a sudden it becomes this really powerful piece. Like you said, it's just like this, wow. Mm-hmm. There's so much to be conveyed in that image. And that's another thing I love about photography. You can take it at its face value, its technical merits. This is a well-composed photo with all the fudge, the lighting's great. Then you can study on what the subject's of, is it something important or something beautiful or, whatever. And then there could be something special about it, this just happened to be captured at the right moment where, and this was happening at the time in this place. And there's just so many layers added on top of it.
Yeah.
And I don't really think there's anything else where you get that. I mean, film takes time to do, it's never instant. It's all this sort of stuff. Even when you have like someone captures a bit of news, happens to have a camera in a place sort of thing, it's never quite the same as a photo,
Mm-hmm.
It's just something about it, the way it conveys so much. Again, on those videos, which Melissa just picked up, they say it's because how we remember. We don't remember in films or things. We remember in snapshots. We remember just little frames, little instances, stuff like that. And photography is very sympathetic to that. It's very much how we process things.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, most definitely, yeah.
Another thing is kind of something that I've often wondered about, and I'm so guilty of this, is when I go somewhere, when I go to visit, if I'm working in a country, I will spend almost my entire time experiencing that place through my camera. It's like I only see the place when I get home and look through my photos.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else do that? I mean, it's like I've been to Singapore about 3 or 4 times. And my only recollection of being in Singapore, apart from the heat, is the pictures I've taken, because I'm so obsessed with just trying to find a really great picture while I'm there and all this sort of thing. And it's been pointed out, but, I'm kind of missing the point of going to these places because I'm not experiencing them. I mean, I am experiencing them, but, I'm not looking up and smelling the roses.
That's very much like watching people at gigs nowadays, where they're videoing a full gig, or they're videoing, 10 minutes of a gig. The last gig I went to, and we was up in the seating area, and we were looking down on the standing area, and you had iPhone after iPhone after, lots and lots of smartphones, and people with iPads just reaching them up in the air, and you think, no, stop, just enjoy it, put lighters up in the air like you used to do at Elton John gigs, but this, it's just, for me, ruining it, and you're just living it through. Watching it through the screen. You might as well be at home.
Yeah, it's like we don't know how to form our own memories anymore. We have to capture it and then remember, experience it later and then form the memory from having looked at it on this tiny screen.
Yeah.
and we all kind of do ourselves a huge disservice that way.
I mean, I'll admit that there's a certain amount of I've got some snobbery. I apologise, but when I'm walking through London, especially if I'm trying to go anywhere near the Thames, Hungerford Bridge, the step bridge right by Parliament, I walk along there and I see all these tourists. You know, families on one side, dad's on the other side of his phone trying to take the picture. And I walk along that bridge and I'm going, no, you should need a fucking permit to take a picture in this town, just because it pisses me off so much. And I'm like, I won't even stop now to let them take the picture, just because if I do, I'm never getting across that bridge because there's so many of them. But at the same time, it's like, I'm probably no better at all when I'm in the other place. I like to think I'm better. I'm not just taking a picture of a touristy spot. I'm out looking for something better. But yeah, I'm no better than what they're doing here. And it's one of those realizations you suddenly have. It's like, I'm more concerned with capturing this image, this memory, than I am of experiencing that memory. And that's fascinating and terrifying in equal measure, you know, because the picture will last forever, for at least as long as whatever, whereas the memory is subject to the whims of your brain. But at the same time, the picture's never going to be as vibrant or have all the information that being there and experiencing it, you know, the temperatures, the smells, the sounds and all that, you know, it's never going to be quite as vibrant. So it's just a fascinating thing. It's like that picture Greg took of the trains. Because I live in London, I can imagine the sounds, you know, the atmosphere and all that sort of thing. But for everyone else, it's just the picture. And I'm sure Greg's got, you know, other kind of just background stuff on his thought process. And, you know, it was just after the shindig. So, you know, I expect he's slightly hungover. But, you know, all these other things which kind of informed
slightly
where he was up until the point he took that picture. And I don't get any of that because I'm not him. But, you know, it informs the picture. Again, that picture I took in Paris, there's a lot of stuff that's attached to that, which isn't conveyed in the image, but it's because it's personal to me. But it would have been just as powerful an image for me to see if I'd have seen it. But because I took the picture, it lasts longer. It's just an interesting kind of sidebar to photography, I guess. You know, something I kind of grapple with. This man is getting deep in here, man.
I'm gonna have to dip out, guys. It's getting past Postman's latest bedtime. So
okay, yeah, no worries, mate. Well, what I'll do, I think if you want to chip off, then please chip off. Thank you very much for coming along.
Well, thank you for having me. And then Skype worked this time.
Yay!
Yay!
Thank
Fucking
goodness.
Hell. I know.
For science!
Shit magic.
Do you want to plug anything before we go? Have you got a Tumblr? Have you got Flickr or anything?
I have Flickr, and right now my username escapes me, but most of it's on Facebook anyway. So
I'm sure you will send us a link for which we can post.
I will. We can put a link in the Shonky Lab. I'm on Facebook as Shutterface Digital Images, and my own personal profile as well. Should you like to have a look?
Nice, excellent. Well, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
No worries, mate.
I will leave you to it. And you, Melissa.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Ta-ra, mate.
Bye.
Is he gone? Can we talk about him now?
Not yet. No, wait until he's definitely gone. Then we will talk. Right, now he is gone.
Yay! No.
How much money will he steal out of envelopes tomorrow?
Who still sends money through the post?
No one.
I sent money through the mail to John Oliver.
Ah, yes, but he is the High Reverend. Well, he was the High Reverend.
He was.
Yes.
I want to know who sent him that 4-foot penis.
Eh?
You didn't hear about the 4-foot penis?
Who's John Oliver, first off?
You don't know who John Oliver is?
It's not screened over here. You have to stream it off of the internet and so forth. So yes, John Oliver is not well known over in the UK as he is over in the US.
Comedian.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you know what the Daily Show is, Elton?
Yes, I do. Yes.
He was a
him.
reporter on that, and now he has his own show, and it's very funny.
Oh, okay.
And he does a podcast called The Bugle.
Yeah, I've dipped in and out of that. I didn't realise. I didn't. Yeah, I can't remember the last time I listened to The Bugle. It was years and years ago. I didn't realise it was that fella there.
Yeah, he started a church because in America, churches are tax exempt. So he basically started a church to exploit IRS loopholes and basically told people, send me money and you will receive vast riches from me, which he's legally allowed to say. And he kept it going for about 4 weeks, and people sent in all kinds of stuff. And he finally shut it down after 4 weeks because people sent in vials of sperm.
As you do. One has to imagine, though, if they were to start sending vials of sperm to the actual churches, maybe they'd shut down too. We can only hope.
Oh.
Don't they have enough of their own sperm floating around?
Evidently not.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yes.
Allegedly.
So, if I can segue us back to photography, something I wanted to ask you about, Melissa, because this is going to sound really bad, and I do not mean it to sound as bad as it does, but I'm pretty certain you're going to have an opinion on this.
Okay.
The whole thing about retouching models and that sort of photography, and when they take a picture and it's this completely unrealistic view. I mean, we all touch up our photos. Everyone does. That's taking it to an extreme. So do you think there's a line where it's okay and it's not okay, or are there circumstances where it should be or shouldn't be? I mean, what's your general take on that?
Well, I think certain adjustments are okay. I mean, if the lighting is a little weird and you need to correct for that, that's fine. If there's a hair that's out of place, that kind of thing is okay. But when you get into like physically changing the shape or size of a person, or removing, a body part or a freckle or things like that, like when you're physically changing a person, taking things away from them or adding curves that don't exist and that kind of thing, I'm not down with that.
No.
I just think, what's the point in photographing a person if you're going to make them look nothing like they actually look like? It does no service to them as a human being, and if it's done for a marketing thing, well, if you wanted someone who looked a certain way, why didn't you just get someone who looked that way?
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, I admire it from a technical standpoint. Have you seen that video where they go through like a time lapse showing the alterations to a model?
I saw one where they altered a model into a slice of pizza.
It was based off of that one. But the video that inspired the pizza one. I don't know if you saw that originally.
I'm not sure.
As someone who has a background in CG and digital arts, I admire the technical prowess which has gone into it.
Oh,
I think
absolutely.
I think it's as a rule it's horrible, and we get into social commentary about how wrong it is. But then on the flip side of that is, I look at some of these pictures people have taken of night shots to starfields and all that sort of thing, which have had just as much photo touch-ups and stuff like that done to them as the model has, but obviously it's not portraying a person, it's portraying something else and all that. It's just like, I suppose the point I'm trying to get is there a line between touching up an image and altering it and what you take and sort of thing? I mean, I don't think there's a hard and fast line, but you can go too far with touching up a photo, can't you? And I'm not just saying by you spoil the photo, like it ceases to be a photo and has now become a piece of digital art. Like it's a fabrication. It's like someone's drawn it from what was maybe a base photo at one point in the past. Yeah,
no, I definitely agree with you. I mean, and as far as like doing touch-ups and stuff, I think for me, it's not really a hard and fast line of what is or isn't too much. I think it really depends on what your intent is. If you're doing like astral photography, and your intent is to portray something artistically, and display a narrative rather than portray something accurate, photorealistic and accurately, you just want to create a dramatic image, well, then by all means, go ahead and edit that photo and make your artistic statement. But when you have things like, when you're doing an ad campaign or something like that, and you're putting images out there that could directly affect the self-image or self-esteem of, young men and women, or even, grown adults, I think you have a little bit more of a responsibility to not push the line so much.
I posted the video. I just found it, so I posted it in the Mixlr. I apologize for being a Daily Fail link, but it's all I could find.
No problem. Oh yeah, I have seen that one. That one. Yeah.
I mean, and the nice thing there is it does show you like before and after pictures, and it's just like there is nigh on zero connection between the picture of a model at the beginning and what you get at the end.
Yes, I've seen that. Yeah.
The skill that goes into that is amazing, and I applaud the amount of time that goes into it, and I think that that's fantastic that there are people who have those skills, and I would love to be at that skill level, with the digital tools that enable you to do that. But, I think doing that kind of thing and making those kind of drastic changes to people is dangerous. I don't know if you guys are aware of this or not, but I'm working as an intern on a film that deals with weight bias in media, and one of the big things that we talk about is how the images that we see in pop culture and in media affect the self-esteem of people, young or old, men and women. So when you have such drastic editing in ad campaigns, it screws up what people think is normal. When you see like that video that you posted, you see what the model actually looks like, and then you see what the final image is, and you put that out as an ad, or you put that on a billboard, and women especially see that and think, oh, okay, well, that's what I'm supposed to look like. But even that model doesn't look like that. I think photographers and digital artists have some level of responsibility, to not go that far. That's just my opinion.
Oh, no, I agree 100%. It's, I think you need to have a certain amount of responsibility, especially when you're doing that sort of imagery work and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It doesn't exist, because even if a photographer himself has that, he's not in charge of a final image or anything like that, or what goes onto it. I mean, once you've released your image into the world, that's it. You have zero control over what happens to that. Mm-hmm. And it's gone. It's off.
Yeah. It's scary what happens with images. And then there was a couple weeks ago, there was a Facebook group, I think it was like Save the Whales or something like that, where this group was taking images of fat people from the internet and basically photoshopping them to look smaller. And it's like, people are just fucked up when it comes to Photoshop. Yeah, it's great that you have these skills, but use them for something better. So.
Yes, you should only use this power for good.
Yes.
Not for evil.
Exactly, yeah. That's kind of the moral of it, isn't it?
When I was a kid, the extent of Photoshop used to be to hide the football in those pools thing. We had to guess where the ball was. Do you remember those, Elton?
Yeah, and you get the little square with maybe 9 or how many X's were there?
Oh, I can't remember. But yeah, it used to be you had to go and try and find the and that was it. And now it's a case of like they just digitally put someone else entirely on the field. Can you imagine doing that now with reverse image search? I'd win every week.
No, because they used to remove the ball, and then the ball could be anywhere on that picture. It didn't have to relate to that photo.
Yeah.
it was just you'd have two players jumping for a header, and they'd take the ball out, and then they could put it down in the bottom right-hand corner. And if that's where they've put that ball, then that is where they've put that ball. It doesn't matter. It didn't relate to where the original ball used to be. And then you had a little X on the centre of that ball, and then you had to get it absolutely bang on to win that spot the ball competition.
Wow.
That's why you had so many of these little things that you stick onto the photo to guess where the ball was. And it was, I wouldn't say it was hardly ever won, but it was very hard to win.
From a simpler time.
Yeah, because they can put that fucker anywhere.
Oh, you see, you know, you do your, you know, when you get your scratch cards and you scratch them out, you should do that. You bring back the pool, spot the ball. Bring back spot the ball, mate.
I'm quite happy with taking photos of my scratch cards that last, nigh on 2 days nowadays.
Oh, mate, the suspense is it can kill us.
It almost started a fight between someone and Marty.
Really?
On Facebook, yeah. If you go through my photos, there's someone telling him to piss off. And Marty's going, what? What do you mean? The tension must be getting to both of us. He started it out really well, but what the hell was he doing? I do not know.
Oh, my God.
Oh, dear. So, yeah, I nearly started a fight with a photo of a scratch card. Wonderful days. Right, I think I'm going to leave it there, if that's all right for you guys.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Can I ask one more question of Melissa?
Yeah, go on, go for it.
All right.
Certainly.
If you could take, so as you are now, if there's an image you wanted to take, like in your mind, your perfect image, your magnus opus, your Mona Lisa, what would it be?
Oh, gosh. I'm not 100% sure what it would be, but it would involve the Brooklyn Bridge somehow. Like, it'd be black and white, nighttime, long exposure Brooklyn Bridge. I'm not sure of all the details. I'm really stuck on architectural photography and long exposures at night.
Nice. No, I can see that. I really want to do some more stuff with tilt shift.
Oh, yeah.
Tilt shift is just so you know, it's where you take a picture and it looks like a model village.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I've seen some great stuff. The Colbert Late Show now starts with tilt shift photography over New York, and it's I look at it, cool. That's awesome. I want to do something like that. What about you, Elton? If you could take any picture, what would you want to take?
I think it might have to be a man walking down the road with a grand piano falling above his head. But that actually being happening there, not photoshopped or anything like that. You know, no. I actually caught that photo.
Something like I'm almost seeing it in my own mind now. But I'm imagining you've invented a time machine to go back to the 1920s. So they've got it on ropes and they're pulling it in. You know, those buildings used to have like the hatches at the top.
Yep.
With pulleys outside. Why do they have these? I don't know, but still, I can see.
How else are you going to get your grand piano up?
It's a fair point. Well made.
Yeah.
How do you get grand pianos in today?
We hired men to do it. We didn't ask any questions.
You needed 4 stout men to work the bellows.
Yeah.
Nowadays they build the buildings around the pianos.
Ah, yes. You go. It's a lot of forward planning if you think at some point in the future you're going to want a piano.
Yeah, and you're going to need it upstairs as well, so flipping. How are you going to do that?
Maybe you build upstairs, and then you have to find a way to like hoist the entire upstairs up and then build the ground floor beneath it.
Wow. So you build the upstairs first, but on the ground?
Yeah, and then you have jacks to kind of lift the building up.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's like The Sims, but in real life.
Right, I'm going to close it off with that.
Deep shit there, man.
Yeah, it is. It's going to keep me thinking tonight.
There you go.
So, thank you very much for you two. Obviously, Greg, I've already said thank you to him. Thank you again if you're listening. Of course you are. What am I doing? Melissa, thank you very much. Is there anything you would like to plug away to my friends out here that are downloading this?
Well, I will say that the Question Podcast will be coming back soon, within probably the next 3 to 4 weeks. So, keep an eye and an ear out for that at thequestionpodcast.com. And, what the hell? I'll plug my Flickr, which is flickr.com/Mrs. McGowan.
Lovely.
So, yeah.
Might as well plug your Flickr. You know, we've been talking about it for photography and photos and stuff like that, where else are you going to plug it?
There you go.
Andy, what about yourself?
Well, I'll plug my Facebook group, which is not really about photography. I probably should put some photos on there at some point. But it's all me cosplay malarkey and model making stuff, which is, it seemed like a good idea at the time. I don't know what the web address is. Hang about, let me have a look. The web address for my webpage is facebook.com/seemed like a good idea at the time. All one word, no spaces. And my Flickr is flickr.com/Andy3E. That's ANDY, numeral 3, echo.
Nice. There we go. Well, I think we will close it off there. Thank you very much for joining me, guys.
Thank you for having me.
Next time out, I was thinking of doing driving. That's what I put on the Facebook group. But I feel that would just be me moaning for maybe an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. Maybe it might be 3 or 4 people on here just moaning. And I'm not too sure if people want that or not. I've heard people do want that, and I've also heard people don't want that. So I'm caught between two places. So I'm going to think about it. So it's either going to be about driving or arcades.
Ooh, yeah. If I could maybe mix it up a bit for you on the driving thing, why don't you do about travelling? Because I'm going to be spending an inordinate amount of time on a plane next week, and I have a few things to say about that.
That could work out, yes. We shall clash brains later on, shall we say.
Yes. Have your people call my people. We'll do lunch.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. Also, I'll be throwing out some topics. Normally, you can come along on Mixlr, which is mixlr.com/Shonky-Lab, and you can catch all the talk that's going on in there. At the moment, we've had a couple of people in there. Union Jack Woodgate has been there for most of this evening, I do believe. Yeah, so you can come along there, listen to us on there, join in as well. You can also call in if you so wish to do on the Skype, which is Elton McManus, all one word, and I'll put you on. It happened
one
to
day.
Melissa...
I'm gonna call in one day and order a pizza.
Go for it.
It's gonna happen.
Go for it. The more bizarre, the better. I want to shake it up a bit, but all my friends are far too, how shall I say, polite and nice.
You can't say decent, outstanding. I met most of them at the shindig.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. I want some more idiots to phone up. Let's put it like that. But yeah, you can join me whenever I do this. I normally put it out on the Shonky Lab, so if you go to Facebook and look for the group Shonky Lab, you can find it all there. It's all in iTunes. Give us some ratings. I haven't had a little rating for a little while. And I think I will leave it at that. Thank you very much for joining me, guys. Thank you, everyone who's downloaded this and listened. I will catch you next time. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.